Welcome back to R for Economics. Today we're going to be talking about the if and the else statements. So if we have something which is true, we can see here in our environment, something is known as true. And then we can say, if something is true, then you're going to print that it's true. Else, you're going to print that it's false. So here's a little if command in the curly brackets, and it's true, so it's going to come back as true. And it said something is true. Excellent. What if we gave it false? Changed it to false. And then it says something is false. Well, let's fix our spelling mistake as well at the same time. Okay, so we have this as true and false, and we can figure out which one it is to this. Well, do we need the false statement? If all we care about is something being true and we want it to do something, well, then we can just give it the first part. And we don't need the curly brackets, we just have to say this thing is true. If it's false, it'll ignore that command completely. So let's set something to false. And it does nothing. It just goes to the next line immediately. Okay, so this is all in line in the same sentence. So now if we've got something is true and another thing is true, then we can actually embed if statements within other if statements. So if this is true, then it will run this code inside of this part, in between the inside the first curly brackets. And if another thing is true, then it's going to print both things are true. And that's what we get. So if this first one is true and this one is false, it's going to go through this one is saying it's true and read to this. Another thing is false, it's going to say another thing is false, so go to the else, which is the false part, and say something is true, but another thing is false. And there we go, that's what it comes back as. Well, that's fantastic. So we could actually embed these things well within, and we could have embedded another if statement in here. If something is false, we could have made the another thing writing another statement out. Now, what if we wanted to look at a vector? So now we've got a vector of true, false, true. So this is our somethings, and we can see that's a logical true, false, true in our environment. And we want to say, will this work? If we just did somethings, print something is true, else print something is false. Well, let's have a little try, and it gives us this error. If the condition like, so if commands only work if there's a single logical test. So here we had a single logical test, here we have a vector of logical tests. Well, what if we just gave it the inline version of this? Well, we're going to end up with the same thing again. Okay? So even though it's got a false as the second one, it's still going to go, you have given me something which is more than one logical test. You've given me 3 logical tests. So luckily ours already thought of this and said, well, let's have an if else command such that it will go through each of the elements inside of a vector and provide the output if something is true or false. And there we go. So this is something is true, something is false, something is true. So it was able to follow along and do these true, false, true, false. Now, we've written out statements here, but you could also provide it with numbers. So if else something's, and if it's true, it's going to be 42. If it's false, it's going to be 0. And there we go, 42, 0, 42. That's it for now, and we'll see you in the next video.